Konnichiwa, Nihon e yokozo. Hello and welcome everyone to the Suzuka International Racing Course, more famously known as Suzuka Racing Circuit here in the land of the rising sun, which we now take a trip to for the penultimate round of the third season of the GT3 Sprint Series here on simracinghubinternational.eu. This 5.807km circuit holds a distinct honour in the racing world, being the only other FIA Grade 1 listed track in the world alongside Italy's Fiorano to run on a figure of 8 layout. It has its fair share of momentum carrying sections, heavy braking zones and fast sweeping corners that will test anyone's intestinal fortitude at the best of times. But as with the samurai warriors back in the days of feudal Japan, who dispatched their enemies with clear-cut precision, the same kind of clinical work is required for the modern-day racing equivalents in the sim racing world here tonight. George Boothby has pretty much secured the Pro Drivers title by winning the 7th round of the season back at Imola, but it is getting closer between both the Flying Dutchman of Niels van der Kerkelt and Sem Spenklik for the runner-up spot in the standings. These two drivers, who were separated by just 21 points coming into Japan, really showcases how close it has been for the runner-up spot, with Dave Jr. and Simon Zimmerman, who have both shown signs of brilliance this year, with the pair of them rounding out the top 5. Each of them have hit the runner-up spot in the race on the podium at both Spa and Imola respectively. Coming into this round, Giorgio Raimondi now leads in semi-pro, taking a very, very fractional lead ahead of Patrick Vance, who up until Imola was leading the way in the standings. But be warned, looking to make their mark in tonight's race will be the likes of Bart Sverink, Dennis Verkman, Pete Vanier, Tim Nyboer and Tim Kroll amongst this field. Hello everyone, it's Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Bradley, your official commentary team here for GT3 Sprint Series Season 3. Steve, penultimate round of the championship. Boothby's pretty much got it in the bag. No one can touch him. But it's about what happens below George Boothby, who I understand recently on social media has announced that he and his other half are soon to be expecting their first baby in December. So firstly, many congratulations to them. But it's all kicking off everywhere else, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, thank you for the introduction, Alex, and good evening to you. Hey up now then, how are you doing?
Yeah, look, I went full on Japanese. You had to bring a bit of A up north to bring us all back down to earth with a bump, mate. But yeah, good to have you with with me alongside again as always, mate.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I really enjoy these leagues at SRHI, the GT3s, GT4s, the endurance leagues that go on here. We always get some fantastic racing, and tonight is not going to be an exception. I don't think we've got some top drivers up there that are going to be fighting at the sharp end. We just had a practice session that was there was a little bit of rain. The track was greasy, but it is drying out now with a very warm track of 35 degrees. The track is green though for the start of qualifying, so it's going to be a busy old qualifying session. I think we're going to get a lot of cars probably going out and putting some early laps in, but I think obviously we're going to see improvements right through the session because no rain is forecast for the next 30 minutes at least, which means a dry qualifying, which means an ever-evolving track, and I think this is going to go down to pole position could be clinched on that last flying lap, Alex.
Yes, because normally form dictated that George Boothby will literally put the cat amongst the pigeons and everyone tries to chase him down, and it's a bit like Tom and Jerry all over again. But qualifying is now underway. We've got just over 27 minutes of the session remaining. 28 cars on the circuit, and there we are. Server time 2:05 p.m. and it is looking cloudy. There is a little bit of a spittle of rain, but that's going to dissipate very, very shortly, especially with the high humidity. We've already been discussing before we came on air who our respective money is on. I think Chris Hill got a mention on finishing the race, didn't he? If memory serves me correctly. But we've had a couple of other drivers in our crosshairs reference who could really showcase form tonight. 3 for me: Sem Spenkling looking to get past Niels van der Kerkelt, who actually isn't showing on the server. So Niels, I think, has signed out. for this race as well. Could we see him back at the season finale in a couple of weeks' time? Well, ladies and gentlemen, your guess is as good as mine. Also, Dave Jr. from the United States in the number 10 Mercedes. Those, for me, in terms of the top 3 drivers that I think could be at the sharp end of the grid in Pro. What about yourself, Steve?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, but obviously there's Banfield as well in the Porsche. He can have some good showings. I mean, he'd definitely be up there for the top 6, I think, and that's the beauty of these races. You know, it's quite often different drivers shaping up into the top 6 and making it really interesting. Sem Spenkeling, you know, it's no secret that I love the way he drives the car and the way he attacks races, and his never give up attitude has seen him get some good results. I think he's got to be one of the favourites for tonight, especially if these conditions remain changeable, because we've seen in the past that he adapts pretty quickly. It takes him a lap or 2, but once he's in there, and if he can get into some space on his own, he's a pretty consistent driver. It's whether the likes of Zimmerman, who is lightningly quick, can do anything about the likes of Spenkling. Like you say, there's lots and lots of drivers there. You've named a few, but I think there's a few more as well that we maybe haven't named that stand a chance of being at the sharp end tonight.
Yes, there are, and the benchmarks have already started coming in. Tim Muris, who has had a bit of a difficult season, the number 9 Honda, currently quickest. Now, obviously, we are on land actually owned by Honda Motor Company. Soichiro Honda, back in the early 1960s, collared John Hugenholtz to design this circuit, and there is the Dark Sky Racing 64 Porsche. Sem Spenkeling currently not having yet set a lap time, but it is Tim Muris, Clayton Barney, who round out the top 2. Then it's Arvin Nam in the number 5 Lamborghini. Simon Zimmerman already up there in P4. Yannick Valenduc, who said, it's the Euros, France v Germany, later on tonight. Well, I'm sure that Simon Zimmerman wants to really cement himself as maybe the driver that could get 3rd at the end of the season. Dave Jr. has an opportunity to do that as well. But the times are quickly coming in. Aaron van Drooinen running in the Pro Sim Rig Racing number 24 car, and is currently 6th at the moment on a 2-minute 2.748. He's had a bit of a difficult season in Season 3. Don't forget that Misano hosts the penultimate round of GT4 Sprint Series Season 2, with Steve being joined by Tim Fulbrook next week. Oh, now, I spotted a few cars off the circuit coming towards the first corner. I think one of them was a Lexus, one of them was a Porsche. Even though the track is evolving, Steve, it might be showing as fast, and it will go to optimum very, very soon. The initial rainfall hasn't quite been swept away yet, has it?
No. I mean, that's it. The track's just clicked over to fast, so I think they'll be finding a bit more grip. It's just the conditions are going to be changing ever so quickly now, and I think maybe this is Sem just gets a little bit crossed up there coming through that final chicane, which is going to affect his drive now onto a flying lap. But maybe this is a good time for one of your infamous onboard laps of Suzuka, Alex.
Okay, so let's ride on board with Sem Spenkeling. Down in 6th gear, 254 kilometers an hour before hard on the brakes through the first part of the first corner, and tight on the apex. Now this is the S section, or the snake section. A bit of a curb jump there for Sem Spenkeling, but you've got to just use the modulation of brake and throttle anywhere between 3rd to 4th gear, depending on which part of it you're through. Again, he's trying to correct the steering. The back end proving to be a bit of a handful in that Porsche. 1,340 kilos, rear-engined, rear-wheel drive, and it produces the least amount of torque out of any body. As you can see there, that's a massive tank slapper he's had just on the approach through Dunlop. Now we're going to go into Degner's 1 and 2, named after the late Ernst Degner, who actually left MV and actually came over to Japan. You can see he's absolutely wrestling with this car at the moment, up towards turn 10. And now into the left-hander at the hairpin. Tight on the apex. Will be in 1st gear. Now pushes the throttle down through the right-hand sweeper here at 200R, which leads into Spoon Curve. And you can see that he's now allowing the car to drift over to the left and allow himself the right amount of apex here at Spoon Curve. It's a double left. It's very deceiving here. So you let the car drift out wide to the right. Now turn it in for the next part. second gear, now up to 30. Used a bit of short shifting there to get the traction down in these conditions that have now turned to optimum, as Adam van Drooijen's gone provisional pole with a 2-minute 1.938. Down the back stretch, through into 130R. There is a double yellow being shown there as well. And, oh, there's someone in the barriers. Looks to be a Bentley there. Now hard on the brakes through into the Casio triangle. Anyone might remember where Senna and Prost came together when they were both at McLaren. Well, that's the exact spot where it happened. Out of the final corner, Sem Spenkelink currently running in 24th, yet to set a marker, but he's going to come across the line. Let's have a look and see what it is. It's provisional pole by 27 thousandths of a second from Sem Spenkelink, a 2-minute 1.911. But then you look at the top three. Spenkelink, Van Drooijen and Muris all covered by less than half a tenth.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal lap there. We could see Sem was absolutely on the ragged edge, just that the grip's not quite there. The track has now tripped over to optimum, so the grip is ever increasing as they're getting more and more rubber back down onto that track after the rain washed it away. But we saw Sem with probably 2 or 3 good tank slappers on there. He was catching the rear end slides, so not the best lap to be doing, and I expect to see those times to carry on tumbling down now as the guys are going to find more and more grip. And I can see down in the pit lane that Sem is indeed heading out on another lap now, as he's already been taken away from the top spot.
Hold the phone. Sorry, hold the phone here. Simon Pike, one of the semi-pro drivers in the Aston Martin, has just put in a 2-minute 1.656. Simon Pike, where on earth did you get that one from? I mean, you said about the amount of tank slappers that Sem Spenkelink had. There's now Giorgio Raimondi, who is fractionally leading the overall classification in semi-pro, as he's just got a bit of a run going through in towards 130R, and he's got a Honda NSX, a brightly coloured one thereof, which looks to be the 08, I believe. I couldn't really catch out the number there, but Kuhn Scepter now goes to within 66 thousandths of Simon Pike, as that Honda definitely went straight on after the Casio triangle. As Raimondi currently P10 in the Audi. What will the V10 naturally aspirated engine have to say about it? Provisional pole by over 3 tenths, a 2-minute 1.344. Now the Audi has a very, very good amount of balance, but it's also well positioned in terms of its engine and drivetrain layout. So mid-engined, rear-wheel drive. It's a 5.2 litre. It's naturally aspirated V10 displacement engine. And that particular car has 552 brake horsepower, 550 newton meters of torque, and it can redline to around about 8,000 RPM, 8,800 RPM. So one of the more higher revving cars in this grid, and that additional amount of effort on the rev range can actually help on a lap round here at Suzuka, Steve.
Absolutely, and just watch Simon Pike now coming over the line, because he's half a second up on his previous best, and indeed he goes pole 2 tenths quicker than Raimondi. So the track is definitely evolving. The lap times are starting to tumble. The timing screen that I'm looking at is full of green sectors for drivers. They are all improving at the moment, and I think the times are going to tumble. We've got Van Drooijen here, who is currently half a second up on his previous best, so he's looking to climb up that order a little bit more. But as I said, so many other drivers also looking to improve their times at the moment. The track is a hive of activity. If you want to follow the live timings and look at the same screens that myself and Alex are looking at, you can go to pitwall.live and look up the SRHI community on there, and you will see track map, live timings, sector times, lots and lots of information for you to sink your teeth into and get the same information that we are using here in the comms box.
Yeah, and especially if you are people that like to know when people have had incidents, it also has that on there as well. Just thought I'd throw those 2 cents in there as well, Steve, just to be on the safe side.
That's it. It's a really good app to get into and to start using, because also it informs you of pit strategy as well. It lets you know when they've had a pit stop and how long they were in the pits for and things like that. So it's a good app to use, and it's you can get a free account, I believe, at the moment, or you can subscribe. It's very cheap to subscribe, but you get a few extra features.
Yeah, €24 if you subscribe to the Pro Edition, 12 for the light version. Sem Spenkelink now comes out of 200R.
A second up, Alex.
It's second up, so that's going to put him on the front row. Dave Jr.'s up to second. Now Adam Banfield has just put in the fastest lap of anybody. 2 minute 0.786 in the number 4 Porsche. We've still got just over 16 and a quarter minutes of this session remaining. So Sam Spenkelink now hurtling his way towards 130R, and wherever he finishes, if he gets a good amount of points tonight, he will be ahead of Niels van der Kerkelt in the overall standings going into the final round, which will be happening in 2 weeks' time. So Spenkelink out of the final turn here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. What is the time going to be for the Flying Dutchman? P1 by nearly 4/10. That's a pretty good showing there. And it is a Stuttgart front row at the minute, Steve, with just 15.5 minutes to go.
Absolutely, Chris Hill coming over the line to improve, but more importantly is his teammate behind him, who is also going to improve. I believe Muris was on a better lap and he's gone 5th. So that top 10 still isn't sorted out, although Spenklink's now extended the gap and it's got nearly 4/10 out to Banfield. I think there's a few more of the guys are on better laps at this moment in time, albeit the top 6 or 7 at the moment, there's no real improvements there, but we go down to 8th place of Banny, and he's on a better lap at the moment. He's currently 3/10 up on his previous lap, so looking like we're going to get an improvement there. It's not going to be over. We've got 15 minutes left just under, Alex, so I think it's going to get a lot closer at the top end. I think they're all going to stay out there and they're all going to keep pushing as hard as they can.
Yeah, I'm going to have a look at what the I mean, the thing is that the track temperature is 35 degrees. Now obviously there are lap records, and back in Super GT GT300, which is effectively GT3 machinery, Yuichi Nakayama in the Lexus RCF GT3 at the Suzuka 300 kilometer race that year set a 1 minute 55.531. So I think we're gonna break the 2 minute barrier. How far we go under that is anyone's idea, as Clayton Barney now goes 3rd quickest and he's a quarter of a second behind, and it's gotten really close. The top 11 here, which is rounded out by Dennis Bergman in the 444, they are covered by just under 9.5 tenths. There's Dave Jr. kicking up a bit of dust coming out of the inside of Degner 1 as he goes under the bridge towards turn 10 and the hairpin, as the Lexus behind. Oh, that's not what you want to do coming out of Degner 2 going sideways. Well, what you don't want to do is end up like Heikki Kovalainen did when he was racing for McLaren one year and ended up backwards going out of Degner 1 because the back end, well, the car swapped ends. It was the back end went into the barriers, and all of a sudden Heikki was beached on the tyres. But Dave Jr. and that wonderful Brawn GP tribute livery in the Artworks car, coming out of Spoon Curve onto the back straightaway. How's his times looking at the moment, Steve?
He's looking round about a 10th up at the moment. He, he could make an improvement this time round, but he does need to, to make any real improvements on the standings. He needs a couple of tenths at least. But 10 out of 10 for that livery. I say it every time we see it, but it's one of my favourite liveries that I've seen overall in any ACC league. I think it's a fantastic livery, that one.
Yeah, especially having the Itapaiova sponsors that actually accompanied Rubens Barrichello that same season. Dave Jr. crosses the line and goes P4, 2 minute 0.798, and that puts him 60 hundredths ahead of Matas Marques. Adam van Drooyen looking to
7 tenths. Sorry to interrupt, Alex. 7 tenths up. So
that could put him on the front row. Puts him P3. He lost a little bit at the end of it. Yeah, 7 tenths up. So top 3. There's 2 Porsches, a Mercedes, a McLaren, another Mercedes, a Lexus. Then we have Yannick Vanenduk, and looks like Giorgio Raimondi is actually leading the way in the semi-pro class. Simon Pike in the 13 Aston Martin from Dynamic was originally on provisional pole a bit earlier on. Here's Martin van der Kraan, also has had a bit of a topsy-turvy season for season 3 in the 2K Racing Mercedes. I love it when you get 2 particular colours and they just use the livery editor to give it that nice little bit of oomph. And this particular one, it's a very, very clean livery, but Martin van der Kraan showcasing how fast that livery can go through 130R as he heads towards the Casio Triangle. He's looking to improve from 16th. He's 1.182 seconds down off of provisional pole, which at the moment still is in the hands of Sam Spenkling with a 2-minute .411. Van der Kraan about to cross the line, pulls to the right-hand side to get a little bit closer to the wall. P9, .591 off of Spenkling. That was a good run from Martin van der Kraan.
Yeah, absolutely. Good improvement there. Looking a little bit further down the field, Treffers, who's maybe just a little bit off the pace this evening, but he's 7/10 up at the moment. So that'll take him a few spots up into, maybe round about, might get him up to 24th, 25th, depending if he can keep the improvement and gain a little bit more. But he's certainly trying. But yeah, I think. I'm right in thinking at Treffers he's normally a little bit further up than P27, Alex?
Yeah, P27 at the moment, behind Chris Hill, as looks like one of the Mode 11 cars going through into 130R. Patrick Treffers sends it, and that's nice and neat and tidy from the Nissan GTR. It's a 2018, so it's the facelifted model. Run a couple of years ago by KCMG, run by Paul Ip out of Hong Kong. But now KCMG has switched to Porsche machinery for this year's ADAC, Total Lubricants 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. Treffers improves up to 24th. And there is Simon Zimmerman in the other Godzilla. He's currently making his way through into the Casio Triangle. Looks to be a little bit grayer up there, Steve, as it looks like the rain could be foreboding once again for a little bit later on. And that's in the next half an hour. We've got just over 9.5 minutes to go. Zimmerman now comes out of the final corner and heads across the line. He decides to keep it over to the left-hand side. And he improves his time, goes exactly level with Simon Pike, but does not improve in position. We do know for a fact that the Nissans seem to be better on their race pace, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zimmerman, don't count him out, even if his qualifying's not as good as you may expect, because he certainly knows how to push and how to get the pace out of that car. Like you say, when it comes to the race, he's a fantastic driver, and he'll certainly be battling for positions. And expect him, if he does end up starting around about P12, P13, expect to see him make up some positions very early and very quickly. We know that he can be very assertive, very decisive from the start. And he will take advantage of any incidents or accidents ahead and get himself further up the order. Just watching Banny at the moment come round, who he's 4/10 quicker, so this could be potentially a pole. If it was a clean lap, this is going to put him on the front row, and it does indeed. So there you go. Not quite under that 2-minute mark, Alex, but not far away. A couple more tenths to go.
Still 8 minutes and 20 left in the session, so the fight for pole position very hotly contested. Top 13 covered by .921. Here's Matas Marques in the number 20 Mode 11 Racing Lexus with that lovely camouflage style livery. Currently P6 at the moment. So let's see where Marques ends up. Goes P5, just ahead of Dave Jr. from the United States, who is rounding out the top 10. Looks like Patrick Treffers has actually just improved as well. He's gone from P24 to P22. Here's the other Mode 11 car, the 444 of Dennis Werkman. Very different livery to what we saw with Matas Marques, who now rounds out the top 5. But Werkman currently 4th in the semi-pro classification, as someone went a bit wide, I think a little bit further ahead, going through the final corner and kicked up the dust. But Dennis Werkman looking to improve. So Raimondi leads in semi-pro. Then Sander Avail and then Simon Pike. But where does Werkman factor in? That time was about 2.2 tenths slower than his previous best. And here's Adam Banfield now heading down to 130R.
Yeah, Banfield is currently 2 tenths up as well, so I mean that could put him closer to Banny, although at the moment it's not enough to get in front, but it just depends how he gets it through. Nice, clean, tidy through the final chicane, get that power down nice and early, hold the tight line to the left just to allow yourself to be able to run out there and use all of the track, keeping it planted. And he is currently a couple of tenths up, but I think, yeah, that was his best lap, but it wasn't close enough to get up to the front row. He's on the second row there at P3, just under 3 tenths off that pole time. That pole time's looking like a pretty good time, Alex.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think you said that Banfield was looking pretty tidy. I think in the latter part of the final chicane coming out of the Casio triangle, there was a little bit of a misstep from the rear end. It looked like it went right to the right, so it might have caught Banfield
Muris.
out. As now Muris has just gone P2 with a 2-minute .384. Sem Spenkelink just has now exited 130R into the Casio triangle. We've got 6 minutes and 5 seconds still to go. Spenkelink gets a little bit of a wiggle at the back end, goes to the right. That will have lost him a couple of tenths, I think, as he comes out of the final corner itself and keeps it to the left-hand side of the circuit. And on that particular occasion, yeah, that lost him time. That could have actually put him on the front row with that lap. It probably cost him a tenth and a half. Benjamin Simmers in the 2:36, 19th at the moment, goes P15 just behind Tim Neibauer, who rounds out the top 4 in semi-pro, and Simmers rounds out the top 15. Someone's had a bit of a moment coming out of Degner 2, and there is Tim Muris. How are his splits looking at the moment? As I think that's Chris Hill trying to keep out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a tenth up at the moment, but he's going to do well to hang on to that, just coming through the traffic a little bit. They've done, like you say, Chris Hill did well to get out of the way there, but he's still got a car ahead of him. While he might gain, if he stays behind him for the back straight there, he may get a bit of a tow, which might help him gain another tenth or two, dare I say it, as long as he doesn't tangle with him in the 130R. This could be decisive.
Yeah, sometimes you probably look for the best opportunity, and I would say that Muris is just he's just aborted. The front wheels were locking up. He had the brakes on, and I think he just realised. He said that if I went for that, that could have caused me a problem. So he's done a return to garage. Spenkelink currently P3, just 2 tenths off of Clayton Barney, who could get his maiden pole position of the season. Oh, look at that! A bit of Stuttgart slide, not Tokyo drift there. If it was a Honda or a Nissan or a Lexus. But Spenkelink has got 4 minutes and 20 to get back out there, and if he does a pretty quick out lap, he might have a run at one final lap. But it's looking good for Clayton Barney. It's just dependent on whether Muris and Spenkelink decide to go for it again.
Watch this lap time, Alex. Watch this lap time. He's half a second up. There you go, front row.
Oh! 78 thousandths off of Clayton Barney. That pole position. And again now Muris and Spenkelink are out of the pits. Banfield stayed in the pits. Van Dreunin's on a really good run at the moment. He's currently P6, and he's got, I think that's Matas Marquez not too far behind us. They're now going to go through Spoon Curve. So I have to give a shout out to a good friend of ours, mate, Esports Designs, Steve Hinden. I could see that in the brake channels just behind the front wings on this car. So good to see that Mr. Hinden's making the rounds, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic work, and if you've not heard of him or seen any of his work, Steve Hinden, check out Esports Designs. There is a Discord channel, he has a Facebook page, Twitter account, you name it, Instagram, and a website. So if you want to search him out and have a look at some of the awesome liveries that he does, I mean, they are absolutely top notch. They are worth having a look, even if you just want to get some of the pictures for screensavers for your desktop backgrounds, because they are absolutely awesome.
Aaron Van Dreunen now goes P5 ahead of Adam Banfield. Just under 3 minutes remaining. Simon Zimmerman has got himself up into 8th. Giorgio Raimondi in the number 58 Audi still stays ahead in the semi-pro class, running out the top 10 but pole in that class. Here is Simon Pike from Dynamic Motorsports in the Aston Martin, making his way through the first Degner, and that car was on the ragged edge through both corners. I think Simon needs to just sort of calm it ever so slightly through there, because if he went a bit too hot through there, I think he would have done a return to garage, and that would have ruined the rest of his qualifying session. But after this, he'll still have a chance at having another flying lap.
Yeah, absolutely, that did cost him. He was 2 tenths up, but that cost him some time. But a man who is on the improvement is Banny, and he's 2 tenths up, so we could see that sub 2 minute lap if this traffic doesn't get in his way. And I mean, just look at that track map on Pitwall Live. It is absolutely stacked out there. I think pretty much not quite every car, but nearly every car is out there. You can see on the timing display on the left-hand side on the tower there, there's not many P's in that final column to denote that they're in the pits. There's a lot of cars on track at the moment, and Banny, he was just catching up to a few there, and I think it has cost him. He's backed out of that lap, Alex. I think what he's trying to do now is maybe just find some space. He knows he's going to get to that start-finish line in time to do another lap, so he's maybe just trying to get that space and go again, because he knows there's a couple of tenths in that lap.
Yeah, so Clayton Barney deciding to slow behind Dennis Wegman in the 444 semi-pro entry. Now comes through the exit of the Casio triangle. He's just got to get the McLaren 720S GT3, which runs with the 4-litre twin-turbo M840 V8 engine from McLaren. Across the line he goes.
He improves.
He does a 2-minute .183, and yellow flags briefly out. Clayton Barney takes a wide line going through the first corner, now into the Snake Complex. And again, if we could ride on board with Clayton Barney, I just want to see from his perspective how hard he's actually pushing that vehicle. Hopefully we do get that. So big thank you. Steve not only is doing co-commentary, but as always he's doing the broadcast cameras here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Always a good job by you as always, Steve, as we go now through into Dunlop, the left-hand sweeper. You can see how tight and how measured Clayton Barney is as he's going through into Degner 1. Third gear at 165, now dropped through, as you can see. Oh, now someone's had a bit of a moment through Degner 2. And then Barney has to correct a tank slide. Oh my goodness me, that's just showing how quickly that control can go away from your hands. But yellow flags out once again. Clayton Barney now makes his way out of the hairpin, through into the right-hand sweeper here at 200R. Checkered is out. 30 minutes of qualifying now completed. Clayton Barney a tenth ahead of Dave Jr. Tim Muris rounding out the top three. Sam Spanklink will start on the inside of row number 2. Van Druynen, Valenduk, Banfield, Marquez and Zimmerman. And Raimondi, who takes semi-pro pole here tonight, rounds out the top 10 overall. But now we still wait with bated breath. How well up is Clayton Barney on this lap, because he's got no one to worry about in front of him. That was a good run through 130R. He now hits on the brakes hard through into the Casio triangle for his final lap in qualifying, his 12th lap in this session. Out of the final corner, will we go sub 2 minutes here in qualification? Clayton Barney could be that driver that pushes that envelope and does not improve. He lost time through that, but still puts it on pole position for round 8 of the championship. Giorgio Raimondi takes pole in semi-pro. Steve, that was a very, very topsy-turvy session there at Suzuka.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we expected, though, I think, Alex, wasn't it, when we were talking off air earlier on? We said, you know, if the sessions start to dry out, we could see the fastest laps towards the end of the session as the track evolves, and that's pretty much what we got. I must be honest, I didn't see as bigger improvements at the end of the session as I thought I might. I think around about the 15 minutes to go was when the most of the drivers were all out improving then, but we're not going to waste too much time. We are pretty much, the drivers are just back out on track now, ready for the start of this race. So let me just get set up and we'll get back out there with them, because the big news from the grid is that it is raining.
Oh, mamma mia, mercy, mercy me. Here we go. It is the penultimate round out of 9 for the Sim Racing Hub International GT3 Sprint Series, round 8 out of 9, here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudly, your commentators. We've got just 2.25 minutes to go until the race gets underway. It's a 60-minute race, mandatory pit stop for all drivers. Let's take you through the starting order. Clayton Barney will start in the 85 McLaren on pole position. Dave Jr. in the number 10 Mercedes joins him on the front row. Adam Banfield in the number 4 Porsche, and Tim Muris, flying the flag for Honda, rounds out the top 2 rows in the number 9 NSX. Then it's Sam Spenkelink in the 64 Porsche and Adam Van Druynen in the number 24 Mercedes. So that effectively means we have 4 different manufacturers in the top 6. Make that 5 in the top 7, courtesy of Yannick Valenduk in the 301, and joining him will be the Lexus, the highest placed Lexus of Mode 11 Racing's Matas Marques in the number 20. Simon Zimmerman brings Godzilla into the fray on the inside of row number 5 with the 21 Nissan, and Giorgio Raimondi in the number 58 Audi is the semi-pro pole sitter on the right-hand side. Then it's Martin van der Kraan, and then we have Zander Vale. So that's the 253 and the 808 that starts on row number 6. Next up, it's Aston Martin versus the Might of Ingolstadt, Simon Pike and Tim Neubauer. Neubauer already a semi-pro class winner this season. Next up, it's the Mercedes of Benjamin Simmons in the 236 and Jordi Barker in the 99 Lexus from Pulse Motorsport. Behind them, it's Mode 11's Dennis Werkman in the 444 Lexus and Dan Lanson in the number 31 Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. Rounding out the top 20, it's Kuhn Scepter in the brightly coloured number 32 Audi R8 GT3 Evo, and Demian de Kaiser, also another Pulse SimSport Lexus, in 20th position in the number 15. Joris Everleens in the number 17 Honda has Pascal Visa in the 145 Ferrari alongside. Then it's the bright, fluorescent, radioactive green Nissan of Patrick Treffers in the 313 and has Arvin Nam in the number 5 alongside in the Lamborghini. That's a disappointing session for Arvin Nam. Next up, we've got Piet Vanyer in the 34 Audi, Bas van Mellis in the number 11 Lexus, and rounding out the back, it's Dimitri Schenk in the number 8 Honda NSX, and joining him, Chris Hill in the number 7 Honda. That is 28 cars, 14 rows of competitors. And what's more, the rain is going to be intensifying here in Suzuka. We're about 440 kilometers away from the capital city of Tokyo here in Japan. And this, Steve, is going to be a very, very interesting race, to say the very least here, my friend.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those, Alex. It's a changeable conditions, as you say. We're expecting more rain. You can see in the forecast window up at the top right-hand side there, the panel with the clouds in denotes with the raindrops. Obviously, it's going to rain, but more importantly is that plus sign next to them. It's going to get heavier. The track is already greasy, so I'm guessing these guys, if I was in the car at this moment in time, I'd potentially put my neck on the line, maybe starting on slicks, but have it in mind for the strategy that you may have to do an early pit stop just to allow yourself to change to wets if required. Let's not forget they do have a mandatory pit stop, which is denoted in that timing tower with the number 1 in the amber box. Once they've cleared that pit stop, it will go green and there will be no number in the box to show that they have completed that pit stop. So yeah, the guys are going to have to work in the strategy. They're going to have to be flexible depending on the track conditions, I think, here tonight, Alex.
They are indeed. We are closer ever still towards what will happen here at Suzuka, based in the Mie Prefecture in Japan, southwest of the capital city of Tokyo. It's about a 385 kilometer journey from the capital city over to the capital city of racing here in modern day Japan. So our modern day samurai get ready to go racing for 1 hour under the very, very difficult conditions. Rain has started to fall, and it will be a case that Clayton Barney and Dave Jr. will control the pace here tonight in the rolling start. And that is going to be ever, ever crucial. Your top 3 starters in each class is Clayton Barney, Dave Jr. and Adam Banfield in pro. In semi-pro, it's Giorgio Raimondi, Zander Vale and Simon Pike. And this is where things get really, really tough. As they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, in the old song a few years ago, which Steve will definitely understand that one as well, my friend. But it's going to be difficult for them tonight. You've got to make no mistakes. You've got to be clinical.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be decisive, is the word. You know, if you're going to go for a move, you've got to make sure the move is on in the first place, and you're going to have to get the job done, because there's not going to be a lot of room for error if the track stays greasy or if indeed it gets wet and people are, are out on dry tyres when maybe they should be on wets, and vice versa. Who knows what's going to happen? So yeah, the margins for error are going to be less. So down into that turn one's going to be interesting. As we say, the track is greasy, it's raining. I'm guessing most of these lads will be on slick tyres at the moment, so turn one could be interesting, and not because of a lack of talent, but just because the conditions are going to be very, very difficult, I think.
Right, we prime ourselves, we get ready to go racing for round 8 out of 9 for the Sim Racing Hub International GT3 Sprint Series. George Boothby is pretty much assured of the title, but how will things develop going into the final round in 2 weeks' time? So it's Barney and Junior on the front row, Barfield and Muris, Spenkling, Van Drooyen, Valenduk, Marques, Zimmerman, Raimondi. That is your top 10. So, are we ready? Are we steady as the rain starts to get heavier here in the Mie Prefecture here at Suzuka International Racing Course? We are green, green, green. A little bit of a wobble there from Junior as now Barfield and Spenkling trying to get the jump on the number 10 going into the first corner. Barney runs a little bit wide and you can just see how difficult it is. They're scrabbling for traction. The leader's gone round. Oh, and he's collected Junior. Clayton Barney's pole position. Absolutely. And look, that's caused devastation right behind. They tried to put the power down. It was a bit too early, I think. And Clayton Barney spooled up the rear tyres, got collected by Dave Jr. And then all hell broke loose behind. But then Adam Banfield and Sem Spenkelink have taken good advantage. So has Tim Muris. So it's 2 Porsches leading from a Honda as we're only 45 seconds in. Steve, from your perspective, that was just that really has changed the dynamic of the race rather quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I said just before as they were lining up there, the first corner was going to be difficult, and it just proved to be so difficult. I don't know, obviously we won't know unless we get to talk to Banny in particular what exactly happened there. We can sort of guess, an educated guess. They just spooled up the back end there a little bit, and we may get a chance to cut to a replay a little bit later on when things calm down within the race. But yeah, it just looked like he overcooked it a little bit, went round, and then once it broke traction in these conditions, there wasn't an awful lot he could do. He couldn't really recover it. But Banfield, Spenkling, now they have got a little bit of fresh air from Muris, but we know Muris is fast in that Honda, and that Honda is quick in a straight line, and that is something the Porsches, maybe it's not their strongest point, top end speed. So expect to see that Honda hanging on. We've got Van Drooyen with a good start to the season after we were saying what an up and down season he was having at the beginning in the build up. Qualified pretty well and now running in 4th place, so he just needs to keep things together, although he is just being challenged into the chicane. I can just see on my other screen, but he's managed to defend that, so at the moment he's the one that's coming under pressure. Yeah,
and there is Aaron Van Drooyen, and Yannick Valenduk in the 301 is closing. So after one lap, Adam Banfield leads the way. It's a 1-2 for Porsche, with Sem Spenkelink looking to consolidate a 2nd place in the championship as Adam Van Drooyen battling away with Yannick Valenduk. There's Matas Marques, and there's the recovering Dave Jr. Giorgio Raimondi up into P8 ahead of Martin van der Kraan. Simon Pike completes the top 10. Clayton Barney, as McLaren was severely damaged as a result of that incident, and he is in the pit lane. And I think also, I've just seen, hang on a second, Simon Zimmerman has also stopped.
Oh, Valenduk's just lost it. Valenduk's just gone round. Sorry, Alex, to interrupt there, but Valenduk, yeah, again, he just lost it. He stepped sideways, and unfortunately, that looked like it caught out maybe Junior, I think it was. But yeah, definitely a little bit of contact there. But he's managed to get going again, but he's dropped all the way down to P18 now.
Yeah, so Adam Banfield now getting a little bit further away from Sem Spenkelink. So a moment there, that has cost Yannick Valenduk. That's dropped him probably towards maybe more like the bottom of the top 20. But at the moment, Banfield leading. Hanging on at the moment, and the track is pretty greasy. The track temperature is starting to drop. Server time is at 3:10 p.m. So 56 minutes and 18 seconds remaining there. We have the virtual recreation of Sem Spenkelink, if he was actually behind the wheel in a real life car, trying to chase down Adam Banfield, and they have been running Well, Banfield's running in the 2 minute 10.4. Spanklink the 2 minute 10.7 bracket. So we're 10 seconds off of the pole position lap time that was being shown by Clayton Barney, and I think, if I'm not very much mistaken, I think Clayton Barney has now retired from the race itself. He's still in the pit lane. That was a real shame for Clayton Barney. It looks like Simon Zimmerman and also Xander Avail have both started recirculating, but Clayton Barney, the first casualty of the night, and it was the pole sitter of all people. But you can see here that Dave Jr. trying to close in on Giorgio Raimondi, and then you've got a real good scrap here because you've got the other two drivers in the top three, Simon Pike and Tim Nyboer in there as well. So it's not going to be easy. And a bit of a mistake there from Pike, and Nyboer was quick to look up the inside but couldn't get through.
Yeah, absolutely. And another big gainer from that start was Chris Hill, who started in P28. He's up to P21 now, so he's made some big inroads on that start. So great drive from Chris at the moment. Hopefully he can. He's not forgotten that it's a race of 60 minutes and doesn't crash out after 20.
Oh. You might feel a bit of Chris Hill scorn after that saying there, Steve. But as we slightly digress there, but we get back to the racing action here as this is the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. And that is between Raimondi. Well, you got you got Marquez up at the front there. So this is like 4th to 9th. There's Pike runs wide, and that's through Spoon. Nyboer could have had the opportunity, but it wasn't far enough behind. It wasn't close enough behind. And now Adam van Drooinen starting to come under pressure from Giorgio Raimondi, and at this particular moment, Patrick Vance not on this circuit, but Dave Jr. looks up the inside of 130R on Giorgio Raimondi. Decided to back out of it. That was the best course of action, but Junior trying to go around the outside. He has a little bit of a door rub as Tim Nyboer nearly goes flying off, and that was Werkman. That was Werkman that just went into the side of Nyboer, I think, just behind us, just behind the viewpoint we've got at the moment from Adam van Drooinen, who now has got Giorgio Raimondi and Dave Jr. trying to go side by side. Now, the Evo version of the Mercedes has a bit more torque than the non-Evo version, and it has about 100 Newton meters more at its disposal than the Audi. But Van Drooinen using a little bit of a different tactic, using the wider angle, not touching the apex through first corner to give him the momentum carry. But look at how quickly that Audi has caught up. Raimondi's on fire at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely, but Junior's not. Oh, bit of contact there as Junior makes way on the inside there, looking like he's going to try and get up there, but that's going to be the outside when it comes to Van Drooinen, and I don't think that's going to work for him unless he can really intimidate Van Drooinen into a mistake. But he's going to go for it. He's going all the way around, and now he's got the inside line now. But Van Droonen's going to try and hold it around the outside. That is brave. That is very brave.
Close, but no, not close enough there. However, it's still going to be battling away. And now Dave Jr. finds himself in P5, but he has a bit of a wobble. The back end nearly steps out, going through into the hairpin. And the Audi of Raimondi gets a real good run of momentum up the inside of Adam van Drooinen. And this is going into 200R. And the Audi in the semi-pro class, I think they're going to have to put Raimondi into pro next season with the performances he's shown this year already. So Adam van Drooinen is now going to lose out, and here comes Simon Pike. Van Drooinen having a couple of clumsy moments, and now that's Patrick Treffers. Treffers has absolutely rocketed up the order. He started down in P22.
Yeah, absolutely. Another man that's gained big time from the shenanigans that went on lap 1, lap 2, while everybody managed to find the grip levels and limits. But yeah, Van Drooinen, he was looking really strong. He was looking good. He just came under that little bit of pressure early on in the lap there, and it's really cost him some positions there. But it's looking like Treffers is going to be attacking Pike as soon as he can now. He's straight onto the back of him, and he's looking like he's going to make headway. Meanwhile, Van Droonen's coming under pressure from another Honda, and it's looking like he's going to get he's going to have to defend into turn 1. Yeah.
God, who would have thought that? The Hondas at each other's doors, and then Yep, that's Joris Everleens. So Everleens currently in P10. He's got Pete Vanya just up his back bumper at the minute. So at the moment, it's really kicking off now. And Everleens started down in P21. So it's really, really going hammer and tongs here at Suzuka. There is some great action. We've had some dramas, unfortunately. Clayton Barney did not continue after that incident on the very first lap. And George Boothby, we wish you all the very best. Getting well soon, mate. He's been sick all day. He's just been sleeping it off, and he says apologies, guys, but have a great race. So hopefully we'll see George back for the season finale. But all behind Aaron van Drooinen in the number 24. Ooh. Look, still kicking off, and that was a bad move there from Pete Vanya. That has hit, who went into the back of Everleens, who then the concertina effect happened, and all of a sudden Aaron van Drooinen got spun around, and as a result of that, Dennis Werkman has profited. I think Pete Vanya is going to get more than just a slap on the wrist after that one.
Yeah, it's a real shame. Very difficult conditions. I'll keep making the excuses for the drivers, but it is difficult. The track's altering all the time. It's still greasy. The track temperature's still a surprising 34 degrees, but it's going to be difficult for them. The track limits and the track grip is just not there, and the braking points are just really hard to pick out. And once you lose that traction, once you lock the wheels up, and that's pretty much what happened there. You're just a passenger, and that could have been a lot worse, but yeah, obviously could have been better as well. But unfortunate. 49 minutes to go. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, crack on. Let's get this race done and see how far back up you can get.
Yeah, and now Chris Hill finds himself in 17th position ahead of teammate Joris Everleens. So Chris Hill, as you said earlier, Steve, started in 28th position, and again we've got all this gaggle battling away. But Giorgio Raimondi, and this is quite good actually, top 4 from semi-pro in the top 9, which is Raimondi in 6th, is being hunted down by Pike and Treffers. And Treffers in the 313 started down in 23rd position. That's a gain of 14 places in the last 11 or so minutes. Alvin Nahm, who started all the way down the order, 24th, now 14th, and has Kuhn Scepter just up ahead in the Lamborghini's crosshairs. Pascal Visa rounds out the top 15. Visa started in 22nd, and he's got behind him Dan Lenson in the number 31, who started down in 18th place. So everyone's gained, well, some have gained, some have lost significantly. Clayton Barney, the first retirement. Dimitri Schenk showing down in 27th. There's Martin van der Kraan, who had a really good qualifying session. Van der Kraan actually started in 11th. He's now down in 19th behind Joris Everleens. So, there's been more dramas behind Raimondi. Looks like Pike and Treffers went wide going through Spoon. And Pike has managed to gather it all back together again.
That's really easy to do though, isn't it, Alex? You're following that car in front, he makes mistakes, runs wide, and I think Treffers was definitely guilty of following Pike off there. Lucky for them, there is the runoff area there, they didn't lose too much time, and because they both did it, then no positions were lost. But they are really putting the pressure on Raimondi, but he's holding his own, he's holding that position. It's a fair fight. While he's under pressure, he's still managing to drive his own race, drive his own lines, and put the lap times in to keep him where he is, and that is an impressive 6th place at this moment in time.
Yes indeed, so they keep on moving forwards. 47 minutes still to go, 13 minutes down. Adam Banfield now extends his lead over Seven Spanklink in the number 64 Dark Sky Racing Porsche to just around about 1.7 seconds. And we've got this ding-dong battle over here. And Kuhn Scepter closing in on Tim Nyboer, who rounds out the top 6 in semi-pro. And Steve, these weather conditions are going to deteriorate rapidly over the next 30 minutes, which could mean more dramas afoot for the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, as a driver at the moment, as we're just seeing there, that Scepter losing it. Kuhn Scepter just lost it there, managed to just about hold it, but I think he did make contact with the wall, so he will have picked up a little bit of damage. But what I was going to say there, Alex, is that yeah, I mean with these conditions, it's raining, it's supposed to be getting heavier, the track is greasy. I'd be sat in the cockpit thinking, just rain, will you? Just come, because you want to make, you want to know what you've got to deal with. You want to get the wet tyres on. You want to drive to whatever the conditions are there. At the moment, I think they're in a bit of middle ground here with wets, mediums, and a greasy track and a bit of rain. It's not the best conditions for racing at this moment in time. I think it's very, very difficult for them.
Yeah, and normally if the rain becomes torrential, we've seen it where track conditions can instantly deteriorate within 90 seconds. They will go from optimum to fast to greasy to wet, and then it's all a case of how do you manage your strategy. And that's going to be another thing tonight, because Simon Zimmerman has made his mandatory pit stop and has probably fueled that car. Now obviously we know that the Nissan has the biggest fuel tank capacity out of the cars on the grid. Bentley is normally the second highest in terms of fuel that you can actually laden onto the cars. But again, in some respects, with the lap times as they are at the moment, the leader's running in the 2-minute 4.2s. Well, Spenklink's just taken a little fraction of time out of Adam Banfield. But in these wet weather conditions, you can actually use a different map. You can still push, 10 tenths, as now Arvin Num gets past Tim Nybauer. And so that was Lamborghini versus Audi. Pretty much sister vehicles, but very, very different machinery in their own rights, especially with the aggressive styling of the Lamborghini in comparison with the Audi. The first generation of the Audi, one of the most successful customer racing GT3 cars in modern day GT racing. But strategy is going to be the other bit where the drivers are going to have to be, they'll be calculating things all the time, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like we said at the beginning, I think they're going to have to be more than ever prepared to change their strategy this evening, depending on the conditions, depending if they pick up any damage or not, or where they find themselves in the field. I mean, I think Zimmerman, he probably found himself in a lot of traffic. He may have had damage, and he just thought, you know what, I'm just going to get the pit stop out of the way. Put whichever tyres he's chosen to put on, he's put those tyres on, and he'll be hoping now that he's probably in some clear air, he's going to be able to put some lap times in and maybe make up some ground and see where he ends up once everyone else has done their pits and cleared the stops. But it will be very, very interesting. We can see the rain is coming slightly heavier now by the looks of it on the screen. The track is still saying greasy, but I'm just watching the times ahead. There's nothing to see at the front of the field at this moment in time, but Spenklink is lapping faster than Banfield currently, and he's got the gap down to just under a second, I believe.
Yes, indeed. The gap now has dropped to 0.933 between first and second. So Sem Spenklink running in the 2-minute 4.1s. Banfield had a bit of a howler in the middle part of the circuit as well as the first sector, because now that track is getting saturated. Sem Spenklink is closing rather rapidly. He was one of the three drivers that we mentioned. Now Dave Jr. rounds out the top 5. Simon Zimmerman again is in the pits, so he is way down the order. But the way that Spenklink is just literally driving, is driving with precision. Now I mentioned that in my opening introductory monologue earlier on, where they'd have to be clinical in how they dealt with it, and that's what Sem Spenklink's doing. He's not using outright speed. He's using a combination of speed and precision, and you can see the tight apex that he takes in the hairpin in comparison with Adam Banfield on that particular occasion. It's just about being smooth and repetitive, isn't it? It's the consistency more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. But what you also find as well is Banfield will be doing now, he'll be starting to look in his mirrors a little bit, and that'll affect his lines, because he'll be trying to have one eye forward, one eye backwards, and we're not really capable of that as humans, so it'll be difficult for him, and you'll find that his lines will vary ever so slightly. But Suzuka's one of those tracks where you can attack some of the curbs. You do get a little bit of movement, as in, it throws the car around a little bit because they're aggressive curbs, but it does pay to use them and attack them, and so it depends how you've got the car set up. Will it absorb those impacts, or will it, if it's too stiff, it'll throw you all over the place and that'll end up losing your time. It can increase the tyre wear, it can increase the risk of punches and things like that, but it certainly looks like Spenklink's got a tidier car, a tighter car underneath underneath him, and it is doing exactly what he wants it to do. It's going where he wants it to do, and it's allowed him now to really close up to under half a second of Banfield, and now he's going to really start putting the pressure on. 41 minutes left of this race to go, and Spenkelink is 4/10 behind Banfield. It is now obviously visible on the screen. You don't really need the timing tower to tell you how close they are, and you don't need me to tell you how much Banfield's going to be feeling a pressure now from that Porsche behind him.
Yeah, indeed, as we're fast approaching the completion of the first third of this race. So, no George Boothby, no Niels van der Kerkelt. Sam Spenkelink looking to go for a potential overtake. As you can see, picture in picture, we've got the battle for the semi-pro lead at this particular moment, because we have Raimondi, Pike and Treffers. They are covered by less than 9/10, well, they're covered by just about 9/10 of a second between the trio, and they are staying with, well, I'm not too sure who that was just up in front of them. I think that won't be Giorgio Raimondi as such. However, the good thing is that they have been keeping that battle nice and neat and tidy. Looks to be a back marker, probably Pete. That is a Mercedes just up ahead, who's just been given the black flags. Tim Neubauer has just pitted and rounds out the top 20. It has been rather interesting because to see Raimondi, Pike and Treffers battling at the sharp end. Now, we normally don't see Pike and Treffers battling up there, but the wet weather has been pretty much an equaliser.
Yeah, absolutely. The wet weather is, as we're just going to cut to this battle here with Junior and Martek, is it, I believe, side by side there in one of the difficult corners to run side by side. Now it's going to be a run down to the 130R and see who's got the most grunt for your money down here. Will it be the Lexus? Will it be the Mercedes? The Lexus is going to gain the slipstream, but that Mercedes is a brick of power.
Yes, it's the Panzer tank, my friend, and it got past that Lexus with consummate ease. So Dave Jr. getting himself up into 4th position ahead of Matas Marques, with Marques actually starting in the number 20. He started on the outside of row number 4 in P8. As through the Snake Complex goes Banfield and Spenkelink, but Marques is keeping Junior very, very honest as they come across the line. I like the fact that they've both got black, white and a little bit of high-vis yellow on their cars. And there is Raimondi being followed by Pike. No, and we're not going to make any references to the old Dad's Army comedy later on or during this broadcast, but Simon's doing a very, very good job indeed. He was on course for, well, he was actually at the top of the timesheets earlier on, let's not forget, and he started down in P13 behind Zander Vale, and Zander in the 30, well, I think it was the Zander Vale in the 808, all the way down in now 23rd position. So, but you can see here going through Degner 1, oh, Raimondi's gone wide. That's allowed the door to be open for Pike, and he gets through, and they have a little bit of a rub. Well, Raimondi, that was a rod for his own back there, I'm afraid, going a bit too hot into Degner 1.
Yeah, a little bit, wasn't it? I mean, he sort of went a little bit hot, and then he tried to come back across. Made that little bit of contact with Pike. I think there was enough room for him to join, just not as much room as he wanted, and that threw him back off again and allowed Treffers to go through as well. I mean, the best outcome for him there would have been to have slotted back in between Pike and Treffers, but not to be with that second bit of contact. That's put him further down, but I'm sure he will try and hang on to the back of these two, although I do feel that Pike and maybe Treffers have got the pace to pull away from him a little bit there. They seem to be on the back of him very, very easily for the last 20 odd minutes. They've been sat there and they've been pressuring him, so it'll be interesting now to see if they can pull a gap on him, or whether these two in fact will start battling, which will hold themselves up.
And then bring Giorgio Raimondi back into the fray. And the previous lap, they're actually quite, they were within a tenth of each other in terms of lap time. And just having a look, it was Pike that was actually the quickest of the trio. Raimondi was second, and Treffers was just waiting in line. As now Marques pits with 36.5 minutes to go on the clock. So that puts Simon Pike, Patrick Treffers, Giorgio Raimondi. Oh, that was a big mistake there from Pike, and now Godzilla trying to filter his way through, courtesy of Patrick Treffers. But the sheer torque of that V8 twin-turbo 4-litre power plant in that Aston Martin, as soon as he got it hooked up, Simon Pike was like, yep, see you later. And he basically, Patrick Treffers had to eat his dust, so to speak. Well, eat the spray, considering how much it's been saturated here in Suzuka. But 35 minutes and 54 seconds on the clock. Still to go in this race. And a little bit of a mistake there from Treffers. He's lost a little bit of ground now to Pike. And I think he's just I'm wondering if the tyres on the Nissan have started to slightly drop off, because he would have been a little bit faster through Degner 1 and 2. It's now Banfield and Spenkelink coming up to back marker traffic. Now this could be rather important for the race lead and what would inevitably be the race victory here, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Banfield responded, didn't he? I mean, Spenkelink got that gap down to under half a second, and then it's not really got any closer. He's managed to respond, and he's got a little bit quicker, and he's pulled it back out to 6, and at some points on that last lap 7/10. So it's going to be interesting to see, what he can do, and whether Spenkelink, we know he's a calculating driver. Has he decided just to pull back a little bit, wait for maybe Banfield to go into the pits, and then he'll pull the pin and try and put a couple of really fast laps in to jump him? Or will we see Spenkelink go into the pits early and try the undercut? We are in the pit window, obviously. It is now the option to go to the pits and try tactics like that. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen now.
Yes, it is indeed, as we are fast approaching just over 25.5 minutes completed in round 8 out of 9 here in GT3 Sprint Series Season 3, the penultimate round of the season here at Suzuka. And we will head to the Hungaroring in just a couple of weeks' time, the 29th of June, for the 9th and final round of the season, where we will crown our respective pro and semi-pro champions. Sam Spenkelink just under 0.4 of a second behind Adam Banfield as they go through 200R up the run towards Spoon Curve. As you can just see, that is Tim Nybo just up ahead in the Audi, running in 22nd position. He's the highest placed of the semi-pro drivers that have made their mandatory pit stop, and you can see a little bit more of a smoother exit for Spenkelink coming out of Spoon Curve up the back stretch in towards 130R. The rain is still falling heavily. The track is still showing as greasy at the minute, and you can see a bit of a run wide there from Banfield. He needs to keep that under control. Spenkelink just needs to wait, bide his time, and out of the Casio triangle they come, round through into the final corner. Banfield now has got the full beams on that Porsche lit up, as it looks to be getting a little bit darker here at Suzuka. Gap now 0.36. Spenkelink was just over 1/10 of a second quicker on that previous tour, as now they get really, really up close and personal. Spenkelink trying to do the cutback, takes the wider line going into the first corner now to get the run. Now he's got a bit of momentum. He's just got to keep that nice bit of balance going through the corners, as he's just waiting for Banfield, who's got a whole lot of gold and blue in his rear view mirrors, waiting for that mistake to happen. But at the moment, Barfield is not relenting. He is still keeping the rear haunches of that 991.2 GT3R on point, on the ragged edge, despite whatever Spenkelink is trying to throw at him. And Spenkelink has a few sparks fly out from the rear diffuser coming through Degner 1. But at the moment here, Steve, Adam Banfield soaking up pressure like the proverbial sponge for a car wash.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a replay queued up of the start at the moment so we can see what happened to Banny. But I daren't cut to it because these two are racing so close right now, and it's looking like Spenkelink is wanting to make that move before any pit stops happen. He's really started to wind the wick up and put the pressure back on again, and he's really pushing the back end of Banfield at the minute. And he, like you say, you're quite right, Alex. It does look like he's got smoother exits. He's not running as wide out of the corners. He's getting the power on earlier, and he's really closing up. Couple of tenths, he can be 3 or 4 tenths back, and in one corner he'll close right back onto the back. Now he's in the slipstream, but 130R, is it the place to do it? No, probably not this time, but he's going to sit there, he's going to be close, and this is where you want to be as close as you can to put pressure on them into the braking zone for the chicane, but not this time. Banfield keeps it nice, tight, into the left, out to the right, and he's going to run round there tight to the right, and he's gone into the pits. He's now gone into the pits, so he's felt the pressure, he's soaked up as much pressure as he wants, and now we're going to go to a replay, and I can show you the start from the helicopter cam, and we can see just what happened to Mr. Banny.
Okay, so we this is the rolling start. So you got Barney. Junior gets a little bit mugged off the line by Banfield, as you can then see that Spenkelink tries to jump in for a double toe. So into the first corner, you can just see Barney runs wide, hits the curbing, it's slick there. Oh, there was a little touch between him and Banfield, that's why. And then all of a sudden, Dave Junior got collected, and then that was Markesh, I think, that came through. And then, Arvin Nam even picked up some damage as a result of that. So, yeah. I'm going to leave that one to race control on that, because that's. I mean, in honesty, just looking at it from a neutral perspective, I would look at that as a potential racing incident that Barney tried to turn in. Banfield was there; they were more than Banfield was more than halfway alongside Barney, but that's how I see it. But I'd rather that race control decide that post race. Whatever they decide.
Yeah, difficult for first corner incident, and especially in the difficult conditions. So it's not our job to apportion blame. Alex, quite right. Leave that to the guys in race control. But interesting to get a replay of that from the helicopter view. It just gave us a bit more clarity on what exactly happened, and just some unfortunate contact there led to a few cars being involved, and looked like Banny would have picked up quite a lot of damage because there was multiple contacts with his car. So totally understandable as to why he's probably pulled out of this race. In the meantime, we just looking up and down the field for a few more battles. Spenkelink now has taken the lead, courtesy of Banfield taking his pit stop, so we are going to watch for when Spenkelink takes his pit, because obviously we know that he was pressuring, he was less than a tenth behind Banfield, so I'm sure if we spot Spenklink's pit stop we'll go to picture-in-picture to see exactly where Banfield is on the track, and to see if Spenkelink now, let's watch those lap times as well. Alex, has he got the foot down? Is he going to really capitalise on having that bit of clear track in front of him?
Yeah, well, Banfield and Spenkelink, the only two Porsche 911 drivers. Banfield has rejoined. He's currently in 12th position, 11.1 seconds behind the semi-pro entry of Demian de Kaiser. There's Dennis Werkman, who is closing in on Giorgio Raimondi, who, as a result of Simon Pike from Dynamic Motorsports now pulling into the pits, takes the semi-pro class lead. And look behind. Well, Arvin Nam, despite having that slight contact with Clayton Barney on the first lap, has got himself from 24th to 6th on the road. And obviously, as Jordi Bakker's been the first one smacked on the wrist with a speeding in the pit lane violation. Stop go 30 for the 99, I am afraid to say. But this has been quite interesting between how long Raimondi has kept out. Chris Hill now finds himself in P10 at the moment. Pete Vanya, who caused that little bit of a concertina effect and a chain reaction at the hairpin, down in 13th. Kuhn Septa, who tagged the wall, as you pointed out earlier. That would have been, I think, going through 200R earlier on in the race, has now decided to pit. So, top 7 out of the top 10 yet to pit. Simon Pike will rejoin in around about 11. Well, he's going to drop out to 11th position. We'll make that 12th because Adam Banfield's now ahead of him. So Banfield becomes the highest placed driver that has done their mandatory pit stop. Then it's Simon Pike in 12th. Yannick Valenduk had a pretty good start to the race. The 301 Lamborghini currently, and there is the leader in the pits. Bang on 50 kph. So that means that Tim Muris will now inherit the lead. There's Adam Banfield as we go picture in picture. So there is the leader in the pit lane, and he's about to pull up to his pit box. And now pulls it to a stop. So I'm just going to keep an eye on how long the pit stop will be. Wipers going like the clappers for Sem Spenkelink in that pit lane as Adam Banfield makes his way down the back stretch.
Can I just say, while we're waiting for this pit stop to complete, look at Valenduk. How close is he behind Simon Pike at the moment? And Valenduk obviously did his pit stop way early in the race due to incidents and happenings that happened, you know, in the opening laps.
Yeah, as now I've just seen that Spenkelink has been in that pit stop. That was 36 seconds he was in that pit stop for. Now he guns the throttle. He's going to get ahead of Banfield.
Stop go. He's got a penalty.
Oh my goodness, he sped whilst he was coming out the pit lane. He hit the throttle too hard, so Spenklink's denied himself of the victory. Oh my goodness, he just...
When we were on board with him then, Alex, and he went, I'm going to sound like I know it all, but I just felt like he did hammer that throttle too hard, and I didn't hear the limiter come in, as it were. I'm sure I was sure he was going to get a stop go then, and unfortunately that's not what we want to see. That's not how we want races to be won and lost, but it is what it is, and Spenklink's going to have to go back through the pits again and serve a stop go 30, which is going to be absolutely devastating for his race.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to actually have a listen back. So like literally as he dropped off the jacks and like literally lit up the rear wheels, and the minute he came out of the pits, like 5 seconds later, SG30 showed, and I just went, oh no. You know what they say, you light up the tyres, you stoke the fires. Well, he stoked the fires for an SG30 there for Sem Spenkelink, unfortunately, but that effectively hands Adam Banfield the race lead on a silver platter.
And that is absolute crying shame, because even, we can see at the moment he's a second in front, so I'm sure he would have still managed to get that lead if he'd have, it's just going to be down to that mistake that's going to cost him the win tonight, because no words for that, no words whatsoever. I'm absolutely gutted for him.
Yeah, exactly, but that's part and parcel of racing. And especially in sim racing as well, it's just it's just the case that these things do happen.
Yeah, and this is Valenduk, as I said, while Spenkelink was in the pit. This is Valenduk, who pitted way back when, at the beginning of the race almost, and he's come out and he's now pressuring Pike, so he's potentially fighting for definitely a top 6 position here, Alex, if not a podium potentially.
Yeah, very much the case.
As long as he can make the tyres hang on, and they don't look too shabby through the 130R there. He looks to have the speed on Pike ahead of him in the Aston Martin. The Lamborghini definitely looked very comfortable. And look at the exit, he's getting out. He's going to put a pass on him down the straight. Now this is going to be very hard to defend. He's got the drive out the corner. He's almost alongside as they come onto the straight. So he's got the inside line. It looks like Pike's not really defending that position at this moment in time. Can he do it? He's not quite close enough. It looks like the Aston Martin maybe just got a bit of drive, but Pike runs very deep there and allows Valenduk to come back, but that's going to turn into the outside line, and I think Valenduk just thought better of it at this point. He's nice and close. He's putting the pressure on Pike. Pike's making the mistakes. He's got the speed on Pike for sure. He's closed the gap up, and that Lamborghini is looking very planted in these difficult conditions, Alex.
Yeah, very much the case. And the last person still to pit out on track at the moment is the number 444. Dennis Velkman is currently on lap number 18. We've got 22 minutes of this race remaining. The race has been turned up and down on its head more times than turning over a sand timer. And the biggest news is that Sam Spenkelink rejoins in 11th position behind Demian de Keyser as Yannick Valenduk is going into battle with Arvin Naam in the number 301 and in the number 5, and Arvin Naam has actually got past. So Yannick Valenduk lost out to Simon Pike, and that opened the door for Arvin Naam, who started, let's not forget, down in 24th position and has made it up to P6. So some great drives up from a lot of the field. Chris Hill in 20th, having started 28th. Joris Eveleen's started 21st, now up into 18th position. And there is Chris Hill in the number 7 car. Still, and we have been assured of a post-race interview for Aaron van Drooinen to explain, obviously, from his perspective, what happened earlier on with that incident that saw him and the likes of Tim Muris actually being turned around at the hairpin whilst they were battling for position. But you can see here that Chris Hill just trying to keep it nice and consistent, running in a Honda at Honda's home track here at Suzuka. But Werkman is finally in the pits, so now Banfield retakes the lead on the completion of lap number 18, and he's currently heading through the hairpin. You now ride on board on the front radiator cam for Yannick Valenduk, who is closing in on Arvin Naam. And this track has really stayed the same for about the last sort of half an hour, 35 minutes, Steve. It hasn't really intensified, but that rain looks to be coming down harder a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, the conditions aren't getting any easier for these guys. You know, they'll be getting used to what they've got, as it were, what they're having to race in. But yeah, it's certainly not easy conditions tonight. Definitely not.
Yeah, very much the case. And this is the penultimate round of the championship for GT3 Sprint Series Season 3. We'll have one more round that will head to the Hungaroring, just outside of the capital city of Budapest. It was actually, the circuit was one of the first ones behind the Steel Curtain, which was recommended as a location to Bernie Ecclestone when he was in charge of Formula 1. Next week we do also have our penultimate round of Season 2 for GT4 for their sprint series, and that will head to Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari in, well, no, that'll be Misano, my apologies, I nearly got myself confused with Imola there. It's been a long day, it's been a hot one as well, Steve will testify to that too. But it will be the Misano World Circuit Macro Simoncelli, and that will be race 8 out of 9. Their season finale will take place on the 6th of July at the Nürburgring, so it will be another 60-minute adventure. Sam Spenkelink gets himself up into the top 10, and obviously with the points he'll score tonight, Steve, this will pretty much assure him, I think, of being second in the championship heading into the final round, provisionally speaking.
Yeah, absolutely, but it could have been so much more, couldn't it? It could have been, you know, really cementing that second place. But it is what it is. As I said right at the beginning, one of the things that I do like about Sem is he knuckles down, he'll get his head down, he'll just keep racing now. And he's in the top 10, he will try and move forward. And that is not unachievable for Sem. He's got 18 minutes. He's looking like he's 6.5 seconds back off Lenson in 9th place. So I don't think that's impossible for him to do. I think he'll knuckle down and he'll get the lap times in, and he'll be frustrated with himself, but he'll be looking to try and recover some more points.
I think someone else who might be a little bit disappointed will probably be Pete Vanier, who's closing in on Zandervale. A good run, I must admit, from Dan Lenson, who actually started down in 18th position. A very difficult qualifying session for the number 31 Ferrari, but we head into the last 17 and a half minutes. Looks like there has been a moment for the 1:45. That is, I think, Pascal Visa, if memory serves me correctly. As you can now see that Pete Vanier trying to do everything to get past Zandervale. They've got Chris Hill, who's now in 19th. You can see that Dimitri Schenk, Simon Zimmerman, Kuhn Septer, they have all parked it in the pits, so we are down to 23 drivers, it looks like. The last of which being the number 99 of Jordi Barker, as through into Degner 1 go both Zandervale and Piet Vanjer. And Vanjer nearly had a sniff of an opportunity going through Degner 1, and he nearly goes a bit rallycross style there, heading through out of the second Degner, but he could get the inside run going into the hairpin, and Zandervale gives him enough room. Vanjer takes the position, so nice and clean between the pair. I think that Zandervale knew that Vanjer had a bit more pace than him in these wet weather conditions, so you can now see the Lexus going a little bit wide to the left, going through 200R, and here comes Chris Hill. This will be a hell of an overtake for the Honda, and you can see there, I think he is... Oh, and there's a moment there for Zandervale, but you know what? Chris Hill saw it coming. Chris Hill saw it coming, and he neatly got through. Just that slightest of paint swapping there, but no harm, no foul.
That is Jedi Hill at work at his best. That is awesome driving there. He predicted that little twitch there because he was holding a tighter line. He kept it nice and tight. He used his Jedi powers and he avoided contact and gained a position in the bargain. So fantastic drive from Chris there.
I was going to say, he didn't say to Zandervale, don't want to sell me this six. You want to go on and rethink your life. In the words of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But no, he will take that one, Chris. He's moving on now, and he's moving up, and he's in P18. He's gained 10 positions from the start as Chris this evening, so that's got to be a good result for him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be really, really happy about that. And that was pretty good. I think he just used the force to keep Zandervale out of his right-hand side door on that Honda. The slightest touch, but it was just like, it was not enough to unsettle Chris Hill. The Jedi Master that he is, as you've now christened him, Steve. Oh, the things we talk about on sim racing commentary, eh?
Absolutely, mate. Anything to fill the gaps, and no better way to fill the gaps than put Chris Hill's car in one of them and get through like that. That was a fantastic move. But another man that is out on his own this evening, and he's doing what he needs to do. He was soaking up some pressure in the early part of the race, just before the pit stops, as we saw. But Banfield now, he's in control. 20 seconds to go, gap with 14.5 minutes to go. Definitely, we've said it many times, it's his to lose, Alex, and in these conditions nothing's over till that checkered flag waves and you've passed it, because it is difficult out there. But Banfield, I mean, he's pretty much fully in control of this race right now, and he's doing what he needs to do. The track is still greasy, which is surprising me, because I saw that forecast earlier on was saying the rain was going to get heavier. I fully expected us to go to a wet track, and I think that would have really shaken things up. But at the moment, it's staying as it is. It's greasy. The conditions aren't changing. The only thing that's altered is the track temps dropped a little bit. I agree with you, as you said earlier. I think it's got a little bit darker. The clouds have got a little bit heavier, if that was possible. But Banfield doing what he needs to do with a gap of 20 seconds back to Muris. Muris in second place, he'll take that, although he's only got 3 seconds back to Junior, so Junior will be looking to see if he can close in. Just looking at the lap times as well, he was half a second almost faster on the last lap was Junior, so Junior's got his eyes on the prize of second place at the moment, and he's going to be pushing hard. And credit to you, Alex, I think you called Junior out at the beginning for one of the guys for the podium, so it's looking like he might be going to fulfill that for you.
Well, keep your eyes on Sam Spanklink, because he is like a raging bull in a china shop at the moment. He has just gone 2.7 seconds quicker on that previous lap. He did a 2-minute 4.896. Dan Lenson, a 2-minute 7.5. That Porsche is going to end up a little bit higher than you, in the next 12 3/4 minutes. Because what you'll find is that Spenkelink at the minute, I'm just going to have a look now where they are out on track. So Lenson and Spenkelink, they are about to come through into 130R, nip and tuck between the pair of them if we could actually go to them, because they are going to be 8.5 tenths of a second apart. So going through into 130R, then into the Casio triangle, and there is Spenkelink, and there right up ahead is Dan Lenson. I would imagine that probably Sem Spenkelink, if he plays his cards right and uses the pace of that Porsche, I think he might be able to get up to as high maybe as P7, P8 in the next 12 minutes. He'll have time to do it. It's just dependent on how quickly And now the gap has gone down. That's been halved by Spenkelink on Lens, and it's now gone to less than half a second. And you can just see that that Porsche is really, really well set up. It's so compliant. And also with a circuit like Suzuka, the camber can really offset the balance on a car. But when you've got a car like that, it's really, really hooking it up. It's only going to be a matter of time before Dan Lenson just goes, you know what, I don't want to battle with Sem Spenkelink. As much as I want to keep P9, I think he's going to get me. And you can see how close Spenkelink is as they're now going to go through Dunlop.
Yeah, he's pushing hard, isn't he? He's trying to open the door, he's prizing it up, and he's got up the inside there, but unless he can get the job done... Oh, a little bit of contact there, rubbing his racing, and he's got through on that one, because I was going to say that inside line was going to turn very quickly into the outside line, but Spenkelink got the job done before that happened. Now he's going to be looking up the road at Workman, 4 seconds, 11 minutes, possible in... I think that'll be possible in Spenkelink's mind. He'll look like he can get the hammer down now. He's not going to have to defend from Lenson, because he's managed to gap him with that little bit of a contact, I think it was, and he's going to be going up the road. But interestingly, our friend Jedi Hill has been using his Jedi powers yet again, and I'm going to show you what I mean.
Oh, here you go. Let's go to a replay. Okay, so this is going down. Oh, now that's Pete Vanya just up ahead.
Yeah. So Vanya is going to lose it in I think T2, T3 even. And Hill manages to avoid and gain yet another position as he does there.
Oh, the force is strong with this one. Oh my goodness! So he's made up 11 positions, all because of well, it was 10. Now it's 11, courtesy of Pete Vanya, who was actually up ahead. And it's been a pretty steady drive. You know, he hasn't kept out of trouble. And Spenkelink now was 5.5 seconds behind Dennis Werkman. Spenkelink crosses the line. Gap now has been truncated, not by much, by about close to half a second, but when he's taken nearly 3 seconds out of that Dan Lenson before getting past him, and he's already gapped Lenson by, what, 1.6 seconds? So that Porsche, if he can run it in the 2-minute 5s, I think he could get past Werkman before the end of the race. And that's possible.
I agree. I 100% agree, and I think very much Spenkelink will be thinking that that's what's on his mind. That's where he's got his eyes now, and he will be looking at 8th. And when you get up to that 8th place, look how close they all are. If he can do that with a lap to go and get that job done, he could, you know, it's a long stretch, but he could gain 2 or 3 positions, not just the one, because they are all very close together. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if he can catch Workman and get ahead. I mean, he's got a couple of seconds to make up, but nothing's over till it's over. But it's looking like Muris as well. He's coming under pressure from Junior. We just cut to Muris now. And that is Junior behind that you can see. He's catching and he's closing that gap on him. This is going to be a race for the second step of the podium, and I think Junior can close that gap before the end of this race as well. And I think we'll be looking at a battle here.
I mean, the thing is, in terms of the class points, if Spenkelink finishes 8th, okay, that will give him 8 points in class. That'll put him on 125. To Van der Kerkelt's 130. Now, they've both had penalty points this season, so effectively what Spenkelink needs is I would say at least probably more like a top 3 finish at Hungaroring, and Niels van der Kerkelt to not be present for Spenkelink to actually take 2nd in the championship. That's how much Spenkelink wanted that victory. And I think now, with 7 3/4 minutes, if I'm honest with you, I think after the amount of life he's taken out of those tyres, having chased down Dan Lenson, I think now his opportunity at getting getting into 8th place, he's 5.3 seconds. If he was like 3 seconds behind and closing in at a 1.5 a lap, I could understand that he could get to Dennis Werkman, but I don't think it's going to happen now.
No, and I think we've just well, I'll take the rap for it, but I think the commentator's curse has come out because Spenkelink on that last lap was actually slower than Workman, and also Shock Horror Jr. was slower than Muris. So both battles that we were watching, both gaps that we were hoping were going to come down, have actually gone the wrong way on the last lap. So they may have just been teasing us a little early towards some last lap action. And maybe you're right, Alex, maybe on this occasion we're not going to get it. I can see Muris is taking on some back markers at the moment, and he's trying to clear the way, and he's trying to get cars in between himself, and it's looking like Junior's going to come across that car, possibly towards 130R, as we see there. The back marker lovely gets right out of the way, and I don't think he cost Junior any time there at all. But that gap Junior to Muris, it's tight, but is it close enough? 6.5 minutes to go, and the gap's coming down, but it's not maybe coming down fast enough.
That was Benjamin Simmers in 21st position in the 236 Mercedes that kindly got out of the way of Tim Muris and Dave Jr. They were both running in the Honda NSX GT3 Evo and the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo respectively. And the gap has just increased to nearly 2 seconds, Steve, between Muris and Junior. So looks like things are petering off.
But on that last lap, Junior was 8 tenths faster than Muris, so he did close something on that last lap. In fact, he closed quite a lot. So I think we're just seeing the relative sector times there, toing and throwing by a tenth or so. But I think at the back end of the lap, it looks like Junior's maybe got a bit more pace than Muris on the second half, certainly. And he seems to be able to gain a bit of pace. But let's remember it was 1.9 as they crossed the line last time round. So when they come back round and cross this time, we will see what it is and see how much time Junior's managed to take out of him. He's definitely looking closer. He's visibly closer. He's nowhere near close enough to start making a move, but he's close enough that it will be playing on the mind of Muris. Muris will be looking at that clock thinking 5 minutes to go. How many laps am I going to get in 5 minutes? Where's the leader? Is he going to put an extra lap on that we're going to have to do? There's lots of factors in there, but the biggest factor is Junior in his mirrors and how fast he's closing on him, because that gap is closing. It doesn't look to be closing a lot on the relative, but as I say, on the screen you can see visibly. If you remember 2 laps ago when I went to the onboard camera, Junior was a dot in the horizon. You could see him, but he was a long way back. Now he's not.
Yeah, gap now is down to 1.3 seconds. In the previous lap, I noticed that Junior was 3 tenths quicker in Sector 1. The best part of nearly 7 tenths quicker in Sector 2, and then Junior lost 2 tenths in Sector 3. So it's the first 2 sectors that Dave Jr. really seems to have the measure of this Mercedes. As now they're going to come across the line. So it was 1.381 seconds after the first the previous sector, now down to 1.1, and Dave Jr. again was nigh on 8 tenths quicker than Tim Muris, and it seems like the Mercedes seems to hook up well in the first and second sectors, but on the previous tour it's Sector 2 and Sector 3 where the Honda seems to struggle, and it's where that you get that pure amount of pace. I mean, looking at the specifics of the engine, the torque between the pair of them, 644 newton meters for the Honda and 650 newton meters for the Mercedes. I think the thing is the pure grunt of that 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 that's front engine mounted in that Mercedes. It has a different characteristic, and around a circuit like this, I mean, this is 5.8 kilometres, let's not forget, Steve, and there are some long parts of it. I mean, like we've just seen from Degner 2 into turn 10 and then into the hairpin, and now Junior is looking that little bit closer. They're going to go through on the mid part of the back, about a third of the way down the back stretch, heading towards 130, which is where we'll get a real good indication. But it seems like Junior's got that car really hooked up in sectors 1 and 2. Muris seems to be able to come back in sector 3. You can see the different line that they take going through out of Spoon Curve, and Junior looks to be a little bit more settled now. I wonder if that gap has closed ever so slightly. It looks to be the case, as he's getting a good run of momentum going down the back stretch. It was at 1.3 seconds. Another intermediate to cross. Now it's 0.7. Junior's got the run on him, and I think probably in the next lap or two. But Look at the time, Steve. We've got less than 2.5 minutes remaining, and the leader at the moment has just crossed the line for the 27th time as we're heading on to what I think is going to be the penultimate lap of the race. So 29 laps in total.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as much as it's maybe sector times, I tried to point out maybe it was in the back end of the track where the Honda was losing it. I think it's down to the driver, I think it's just that they're soaking up the pressure. Both of them are trying to drive as hard as they can at this point, and Junior just seems to be able to put that lap together a little bit better than Muris. Muris is feeling that pressure and he's making mistakes, and the gaps, the gap is coming down. But I tell you what, Spenkeling 1.6 behind Workman now. He's really closed up. I've got him on another screen. I'm just watching. He did make Spenkeling made a mistake. He was closer. He just ran a little bit wide into Spoon Curve, so he cost himself a couple of tenths. I think, is he going to catch him? Possibly not. I think he's 1.4 seconds behind now, so he's closing all the time. But I don't think he's going to be close enough to put a move on him unless Workman is really struggling. But this is the battle now. This is Junior against Muris, 7 tenths. He's got to really start. He's got to attack now. He's now at that point where he can really start to flash those lights, make a nuisance of himself, start playing the mind games, but more importantly, start looking for that move. Look at the point on the track where he needs to be at his closest, where he wants to be tucked in behind and get that better exit. We've seen the Mercedes get better drive out of the corners compared to the Honda, and now look how he closes in here. He's closing right up. It's almost like he has to adjust his line there, because he just little twitch of understeer, little twitch of oversteers. He's trying to get on the power there. You saw the back end just not wanting to grip, and the tyres light up a bit, and that just cost him a little bit of traction there. But he is going to get another lap in. I feel he's going to be able to do one more lap round here and just see what he can do, as Banfield's just he's crossing the start finish line now to go on what will be the final lap with 14 seconds left on the clock. So Junior is going to have this one last lap to try and put pressure on.
Indeed. So at the end of 29 laps, we will have our leader at the moment, Adam Banfield, will have completed 168.4 kilometres, and there we have our leader going through the Snake Complex for the final time. He's going to make his way through Dunlop as Dave Jr. and Tim Muris still battling away. They've just come out of the first corner, and there's Sam Spenkeling closing on Dennis Werkman. And look, Giorgio Raimondi is actually just up ahead. Timer has struck 0. The leader now making his way through into the Degners for the final time of asking. And it has been a pretty good run, as there is Spenkeling. And Werkman now sees a bit of turquoise blue to his left-hand side and decides to defend, because this is for position. Werkman has the right to do so. So the leader now, Banfield, making his way through the hairpin for the final time. That's turn 11, as Spenkeling now gets past Werkman for what is going to be P8 on the road. Dave Jr. closing in on Tim Muris. This is probably going to be more than likely a run to the line. They're going to go into the hairpin, but Spoon Curve is where our leader, Adam Banfield, exits for the 29th and final time of asking, securing pole position in this race. The battle for the second place on the rostrum and third place yet to be decided. Here we go. They're just and Dave Jr. overcooks it and outbrakes himself big time. But will that give an opportunity for Simon Pike to close in? Not quite, because he's about 27 seconds down the road. But the 8th and penultimate round of Season 3 GT3 Sprint Series here on Sim Racing Hub International, it's going to be a run to the line. Pole position in qualifying, and the checkered flag waves for Adam Banfield. After just over 168 kilometres, he takes the checkered flag. And holding on, Honda is going to be on the podium on home soil here in the Mie Prefecture, because Tim Muris started fourth, held on right up until the dying moments before a mistake from Dave Jr. gave him second at the checkered. Dave Jr. takes another overall top 3 finish, but it's coming to be a bit close here in the last dying moments. But it's going to be Simon Pike who's held off Arvin Nunn with the drive of the evening, or one of the drives of the evening. Pete Vanya rounds out the top 20, but Simon Pike becomes our latest winner in semi-pro. He's going to take fourth, and he's going to take the victory. in this class, and Arvin Nam from 24th to 5th. Yannick Valenduk, after that first turn incident, recovers to take 6th place ahead of Giorgio Raimondi. Sem Spenkelink, one step away from challenging Niels van der Kekelt for 2nd in the overall standings, takes 8th. Dennis Werkman rounds out the top 3 in semi-pro in 9th. Dan Lenson started down in 18th, finished in 10th. A good effort from Patrick Treffers, 23rd to 11th. Tim Neibauer, also a semi-pro race winner this season, takes 12th ahead of the recovering Martin van der Klaan. Pascal Visa will hold on to 14th place ahead of Pulse Motorsports' Demian de Kaiser in the number 15, who, funny enough, rounds out the top 15. Joris Evelins brings home the second of 3 Hondas, or second of 4 Hondas here tonight, because Dimitri Schenk unfortunately retired 15 laps ago. And not too far behind, the Jedi Master himself in semi-pro, Chris Hill, started down in last position and has got through 2 minor scrapes. Actually avoided Pete Vanya, and he will take the checkered flag, gains 11 positions to finish in 17th ahead of Xander Vale. Well, that was a pretty good race there, Steve. The weather conditions against the competitors, and we had a doozy here in the Mie Prefecture at the Suzuka International Racing Course here in Japan.
Mate, that was absolutely awesome racing. As ever, the guys gave us something really, really good to watch there. There was a few incidents, as I said, the conditions, you can't really put it into words. They were very, very difficult for the guys. But some of the drives there, Valenduk, I mean, he took that early pit stop and he really, really, shone for me. He managed to come back out and get up to where was he? He was round, definitely in the top 10 somewhere. It was 7th or 8th, something like that, I think. But he definitely great drive from him.
Indeed. Well, let's get the interview stage of the broadcast underway. Let's see if we can bring in... it was a really, really good qualifying session for this man. We really, really feel for him. Let's bring in Aaron van Drooyen from the number 24 Mercedes. Aaron, well, it's good to catch up with you and Anthony before the broadcast, but obviously a really good, solid qualifying. You were battling for pole position. You got to within 0.234 of Adam, who took pole. But it was a race that was ended up being on the wrong end of the stick, so to speak.
Yeah, well, the qualifying went pretty well. I did expect to be quite high up because it's one of my favorite tracks, and Mercedes really comes to life at this track. But my strategy guy made a mistake in the beginning of the race. Started at the wets, and literally I was cooking my tires. Was really off the pace, hoping on more rain, and eventually I got punted from behind. I don't know exactly who it was because I didn't watch it back, and I had heavy rear damage, so I took the first corner and I already spun out, and I saw it was 1 minute something to the repair. So that's basically it. So only 2 finishes this season so far.
Yeah, real shame. But obviously we've got the final round at the Hungaroring race 9. Obviously there's an opportunity for you to have a good race to close out the season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, of course, never give up, and try to make the best out of it next time.
Well, Aaron, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for our final round of Season 3 for the Sprint Series.
Yeah, of course. See you next time.
Okay, Steve, looks like we've got another driver. I'll hand this one over to you. Our second place finisher, having started P4, the number 9 of Tim Muris.
Good evening, Tim. Hi. How are you, buddy? Hi. You all right?
You bet I am all right.
I bet you are. What a drive that was, buddy. Great qualifying session for you as well. You were really strong there. I mean, that set you up for what was a fantastic race. A few incidents around you, but you kept your nose clean. You were in P3, and then Sem got that drive through. I mean, just talk us through the qualifying and the race from your point of view, please.
Well, I switched off all my or the tables with who is in front of you, and because it was too distracting, and I just focused on a good run, and in the end I was P3 when I entered in the pits. It became P4. I knew Sam was gonna get me during the start, but I was just thinking about getting through the first corners without any damage or spin. That would be massive. And it got even better when the guys in front of me spun, which were like 2 places gained or something. And yeah, I had a massive gap to the ones behind me. But again, I switched off the tables and I just kept an eye on the weather. And I had selected wets for my pit stop, but just at the last second I switched to dries, and that was my luck. It almost became P3 with Dave, who was reeling me in like a madman.
I was gonna come to that bit. Yeah, I mean, how much pressure were you under then? Because we were sort of, as commentating, we were sort of looking at it, thinking, you know, he's Dave Jr.'s winding him in a little bit, he's reeling him in, and then before we knew it, he was on your rear bumper, and he was putting you under all kinds of pressure there for a while, and you did really, really well to soak it up, and his car did look a lot more stable through some of those corners as well. He was making some big gains in some of those faster corners.
Yeah, also in that braking zone before the chicane, he gained so much on me there, and it was more surviving, you know. And at that moment, I was like, just P3 is yours. I didn't know I was in P2 at that moment, so P3 is yours. Let's go for it. And the last lap, he mistook my braking point. He thought it was a bit later, and he managed to avoid me, I think. That's what what my recollection of it is. And yeah, then I had like a second or more of an advantage, and I managed to keep that gap. But another lap, hell no. Because the last lap, the second to last lap, I was thinking, ooh, this is the last lap, yes. And he didn't really came too close to me, but I was so devastated there was another lap, and I was like, he's just gonna bust past me.
Just to rub a little bit of salt in the wound, Mr. Banfield crossed the line with 15 seconds to go, I think it was, to give you that extra last lap there, just to keep that pressure on. But you did soak it up really, really well, and it's just as you say, Dave did sort of run it a little bit deep on the brakes, and he was on your right-hand side, which was the outside of the corner, and he more or less just sort of understeered straight on and managed to avoid you, but it just gave you that enough of a cushion to take you back down the straight through 130R and home to a fantastic result tonight. And like I say, Tim, you deserve that, mate, because you drove really well in qualifying, and you drove very, very well in some difficult conditions, it has to be said. So well done, mate, and a great drive this evening.
Thanks a lot. Really happy with it.
Good man. So I'm going to hand the race winner over to Alex now. You can ask the awkward questions, mate. Go for it.
Well, started from pole position and won it quite comfortably after a mistake from his chief rival. Adam Banfield, firstly, congratulations. Another new victor this season in Season 3. It did start to get a bit difficult for you when Sem started closing before the pit stop phase, and you decided to blink first, so to speak. Must have been a bit sort of foreboding when you saw that turquoise blue in your rear view mirrors, wasn't it?
Hello. Right, well, thank you, first of all. I'll just quickly correct you. I didn't start on pole, I started third.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a really difficult first lap. I'm not really sure entirely what happened in turn 1. Mm-hmm. It was I had a really good start. I was going to go around the outside, so I got Dave on the start. I think it was Dave who started P2. I got him on the start, and I was just stick on the outside. But Barney went really deep into turn 1. I don't know if it was just cold tires. So I went to go on the inside, also with extremely cold tires. And I don't know if it was just understeer or if I could only tell from my perspective. But that happened. It was just an awkward turn one anyway. But with Sem closing in on me, like halfway through the race, I managed to bridge a gap to about 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden he started just closing in, and my pressures were going down extremely fast. I was on about 25.8 on all my tires towards the half an hour mark, which is when he closed up really close. But I was low on fuel anyway, so I needed to pit at that point anyway. But when he come out in front of me, I didn't see the stop go 30 until like the end of the lap. So, I mean, it was, I guess, really unlucky for Sam because he was driving a good race too.
Yeah, I mean, we had a look at a replay where you'd actually gotten up the inside of Clayton Barney going through turn one, and I think he just tried to turn in. But we're going to leave it to what race control decide on that one. We got a helicam shot, which will be on the footage. But yeah, I think we saw you coming through, and then like literally you're coming out of the final corner. Sem's car dropped off the jacks. He literally lit up the rear tyres, floored it, and as soon as he gunned it out the pit lane, it was a stop go 30. So I think it could have been a rather interesting battle between the pair of you, in the last sort of 25, 27 minutes of the race. But, to still become a new race winner this season, I mean, credit to Sem that he's already had a couple and he was on course for a third. But to still have that win at the end of an hour's race, and the conditions weren't easy out there. He went from optimum in quali to then running 10 seconds off the pace for a lot of the race, even though things have started to sort of peter out a little bit. You must be pretty happy with that one.
I'm really happy. This is sort of my Pierre Gasly moment, if you say, because obviously there were a few, let's say, big names missing with George and Niels, so I don't normally get wins. So I'm happy with it anyway, and seeing the conditions are so tricky, I sort of had to guess my pressures at the beginning or try to judge where they'd be, and especially when I was pitting, I was hoping it wasn't going to rain any more than it was. So I'm happy with the gap I got, because whether I get a penalty or not, I'm not sure. But I think I had about 18 seconds gap. So if I get a 5, 10, 15, hopefully it's enough. But we'll leave it to the stewards. I'm happy with the win on the day anyway. And I'm looking forward to the next race.
Brilliant. Well done, Adam. We'll see you in Hungary in a couple of weeks' time.
You guys.
Well, Steve, I think that's really about it from us for this evening. Still a great race. I think there's so much going on. That's why I probably thought that Adam was on pole position, but I'm glad he corrected me on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot going on, and it all changed very quickly at the start there, didn't it? But as ever, we say it every time, every week, GT3s, GT4s, fantastic racing from the SRHI community. A great bunch of lads, definitely worth a look up if you fancy doing some sim racing with some competitive lads. And who knows, Chris Hill may take you into the Jedi camp and teach you some of his Jedi master tricks, as we saw this evening. So yeah, I think some great stuff there, Alex. I'm really looking forward to the next round.
Yeah, so in a week's time, join Tim Fulbrook and Steve Proudley for the penultimate round of the ACC GT4 Sprint Series Season 2, which takes place at the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. That's the 22nd of June. Again, it'll be a 60-minute race. And myself and Steve, we will be back for the 9th and final round of Season 3 GT3 Sprint Series here on Sim Racing Hub International. Don't forget, you can follow SRHI on all its relevant social media channels. You can go to srhi.eu, the official website, to find out about championship leaderboards, the mixed endurance series that we've got going on at the moment, GT3, GT4 leaderboards, and race reports as well. Don't forget, if you haven't already, why not subscribe to the srhi.eu YouTube channel, hitting the notification bell so whenever a broadcast goes live, we do have broadcasts with commentary on Tier 1, and Tier 2 is also live streamed on YouTube at the very, very same time. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for the season finale, as Booth B one step away from being confirmed champion. But who will take the runner-up spot? Will it be one of the two Flying Dutchmen? Will it be Niels van der Kerkelt or Sem Spenkelink? Well, join us in 2 weeks at the Hungaroring to find out. Good night.